Hello, my name is Christopher Renstrom. I'm the creator of rulingplanets.com and Christopher Renstrom Astrology. And this time, I wanted to welcome you to my April horoscope forecast for 2025. On April 4th, Saturn forms a sextile to Uranus, which is then followed by Mars forming a sextile to Uranus, and finally, Mars forming a trine to Saturn. The beauty of trines and sextiles is in the way that they bring out the best in all of the planets affected. Even ordinary characters like Mars, Saturn, and Uranus undergo a period of an attitude adjustment under the graces of these astrological aspects. Mars becomes fostering rather than bullying. Saturn goes from being a hindering force to an enabling one. And Uranus, even Uranus, famous for knocking over the game board and sending all the pieces flying, makes the switch from revolutionary to reformer. This cosmic redirection of counterproductive and potentially harmful energies into a more positive and constructive vein is sure to bring about the results that you seek. Now, it won't be easy. I mean, think of the planets involved. Mars, Saturn, and Uranus. But going the distance is the way to go. All you have to do is remain focused on the best possible outcome, no matter how long it may take. Signs most affected are Aries, Taurus, Cancer, Scorpio, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pisces. On April 6th, the Sun forms a sextile to Jupiter. This is perfect for a change of scene, because you've been pressing your nose to the grindstone for far too long, and you could use a break. Time away, even if it's just a day trip, will do a lot to recharge your psychic batteries and help you to put problems in perspective. These two planets are also good for broadening your horizons. So go ahead and attend a lecture, enroll in a workshop, or go on a retreat, because it will definitely be both mind-expanding and soul-enriching. Finally, there's good fortune to be found by following tips and leads, and that's because Jupiter is in the Mercury-ruled sign of Gemini. Indeed, the further off the beaten path you go, the greater the likelihood will be that you'll discover something worth treasuring, perhaps even a treasure trove itself. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Libra, and Aquarius. The other planetary aspect that will be taking place on April 6th is retrograde Venus forming a trine to Mars. Venus is the planet of attraction in astrology. She operates from the principle that like likes like. And it's Venus's job to surround you with people who enjoy the same things that you do, who laugh at the same jokes, and who revile the same politicians. However, when Venus is retrograde, she often attracts the things you don't like. Oftentimes, this is unwanted attention, but given that retrograde Venus is forming a trine to Mars, a traditionally romantic aspect, your romance with someone from the wrong side of the tracks, or friendship with someone from a different culture or who espouses a different set of beliefs, could set up an embattled situation with loved ones and friends. People will warn you away from this association, and if this is a fly-by-night fascination, then they would be right. However, if your feelings for this person are deeper, then be prepared to draw ire and derision. Many will question the choices you're making, but what can you say? Love is love. Signs most affected are Taurus, Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. On April 7th, Mercury comes out of retrograde. Is it safe to go back in the water? That's the question you'll be asking today when Mercury comes out of retrograde in the zodiac sign of Pisces. Mercury retrogrades are always dicey, but this latest one, which began on March 15th and ends today on April 7th, was especially unruly because Mercury turned retrograde on the day after the lunar eclipse in Virgo. Remember that Mercury rules the zodiac sign of Virgo, and then Mercury changed signs on the day of the solar eclipse in Aries. This would have heightened the feelings of anxiety and combativeness that are the hallmarks of both zodiac signs, which explains why rude awakenings were even ruder, and shocking surprises were all the more shocking during the past 3.5 weeks. Thankfully, life returns to normal as mobile devices, computers, planes, trains, and automobiles all go back to behaving themselves. You can also look forward to improved relations with lovers, spouses, business partners, and creative collaborators. Now, you may not salvage everything that went awry, but at least you can pick up the pieces and move on. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Scorpio, and Pisces. The other planetary event, taking place on April 7th, is retrograde Venus, forming a conjunction to Saturn in Pisces. Are you trying to squeeze water from a stone? It's a question worth asking when retrograde Venus conjoins Saturn in Pisces for the second time this year. We all want to make excuses for why someone we're attracted to doesn't return our affections. Maybe this person has a hard time expressing themselves, had a difficult upbringing, or suffers from trust issues. Indeed, given the emotional depth and imagination of Venus and Pisces, you could wind up telling yourself all sorts of stories. What it comes down to is, do you really want to spend all your energy in trying to win over someone who can't be won over? And even if you did succeed, do you want to be the one who values your relationship more than they do? Feelings of rejection can be deeply painful, but if the person didn't share those feelings to begin with, is it really rejection? Saturn's bold-faced truths are hard to take, but what you save yourself from in the long run is trying to force a fit with someone who was never your match. Signs most affected are Taurus, Cancer, Scorpio, Capricorn, and Pisces. On April 8th, retrograde Venus forms a sextile to Uranus. It looks like you'll soon be approached by people who are certain that only you can salvage an unsalvageable situation. Maybe it's your cool under pressure that assures them that you're the right person for the task. Maybe it's your expert knowledge, profound insight, or that amazing gift of yours that you have for getting impossible types to return to the table to talk. It's all very flattering, and you'll be tempted to say yes. But this is a good time to remember that Venus is still retrograde, which means either the timing is off or the other parties aren't interested in making a deal right now. There's a reason why all the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty Dumpty back together again, and that's because what they were looking at was an unholy mess. So you, might want to pass on this one. Signs most affected are Taurus, Cancer, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Pisces. On April 12th, there will be a full moon in the zodiac sign of Libra. A crisis always brings out people's true character. It's the hardest of times, but it's also the most honest of times, as boasts, fears, promises, and insecurities all fall by the wayside to reveal the person underneath. Some will be found wanting, while others will step up to the plate in ways you never imagined. And that's because a crisis is a time of judgment without prejudice, a time that separates the loud from the quiet, the panicky from the adept, and the self-centered from the selfless. Libra is a sign of judgment. Its symbol is the scales, and scales, since ancient times, have always been used to determine the value of something, weighed in the balance. The full moon in Libra will show you the true value of the people in your life, the ones who depend on you, the ones who lord over you, the ones you seek to impress, and the ones you take for granted. It will be a sobering time, but it will also be an enlightening time. And what you take from this will go on to inform your heart and your conscience in the days to come. Signs most affected are Gemini, Cancer, Libra, and Aquarius. The other planetary aspect taking place on April 12th is Venus coming out of retrograde. Peace and harmony will now be restored now that Venus is out of retrograde. It hasn't been easy dealing with false friends, malicious rivals, and fly-by-night love interests, but believe it or not, there was a higher purpose to be served. Venus rules mirrors, and she tends to show us our more unflattering sides when she's retrograde. It's not pretty, but it's still necessary information. Maybe you discovered that you were just too needy, too covetous, too jealous, or just plain too self-involved. In any case, you now have a chance to own what you see in the mirror, and subsequently, to own what you see mirrored in the actions of others, rather than to let those projections own you. This will empower you, and in ways undreamt of before. Signs most affected are Aries, Taurus, Leo, Virgo, Libra, and Sagittarius. On April 16th, Mercury re-enters Aries. When Mercury turned retrograde on March 15th, you were under the impression that everyone was on the same page. Not only were people excited about future prospects, but they couldn't wait to embark on this new endeavor or enterprise. Over the following days, you saw how quickly those plans went awry. Maybe hidden costs came to the surface. People couldn't agree on a single approach, or minor technicalities, regarded as paper tigers at the time, wound up exerting a stranglehold on your progress. Thankfully, Mercury's re-entrance into the zodiac sign of Aries signals a do-over for you. Either people will rally, but if they don't, then you should start afresh somewhere else. You'll have no problems finding takers or a backer. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Virgo, and Sagittarius. On April 17th, Mercury conjoins Neptune in Aries. Mercury, suffused with the rays of Neptune and Aries, makes you both inspirational and motivational. Not only are people convinced that you can make them a better version of themselves, they will push to exceed expectations. There's something about your confidence that sparks bravery in others. It's not unlike Henry V's St. Crispin speech in the Shakespeare play, where he embraces his men as his band of brothers and urges them to fight back against the French armies who outnumber them. This call to action transcends any victory, because there's victory even in defeat. That's because it's the struggle that counts. This is an amazing transit for anyone who coaches, mentors, or guides, because you are the flame that lights the bonfire. Where there's belief, there's triumph. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. On April 18th, Mars re-enters the zodiac sign of Leo. Mars re-entering the zodiac sign of Leo gives you a chance to regain the ground you lost when it turned retrograde on December 26th. Nothing could have prepared you for that surprise turnaround when Mars retrograded back down into the zodiac sign of Cancer on January 6th. You might have given up all hope of ever getting that prize that should have been yours. But retrogrades between zodiac signs are curious passages. By taking us so far out of reach of our prize so as to make the prospects of getting it impossible, we are forced to question how much we really wanted it in the first place. For many, this is a time of resignation and humble acceptance. But for those who have Mars strong, this period of hanging out in limbo brings things into sharp focus. It also encourages you to rethink your approach and to look for a better one, so that when the opportunity presents itself again, Like it does when Mars re-enters the zodiac sign it retrograded out of, you are ready to strike for what's yours and to walk away with it. Signs most affected are Aries, Leo, Scorpio, and Sagittarius. On April 19th, the Sun enters Taurus. Life will settle down now that the Sun is in the zodiac sign of Taurus, and that's because Taurus is probably the most grounded of all the zodiac signs, which is good news, considering how wild and crazy the past few weeks have been. You've had enough of being distraught and overwrought, so it would be nice to see people return to their senses and behave themselves again. This is also a good time to pursue deals, as buyers and sellers are eager to get business up and rolling again. This is good for morale, and it's even better for the economy, as the streams of revenue begin to flow again. Signs most affected are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. Another planetary aspect taking place on April 19th is Mars forming a trine to Neptune. Neptune is the planet of vision, and visions are good for lifting our sights and challenging us to imagine a life that's different from the one we're living now. Wanting to be a better version of ourselves is very much a Neptune and Aries ideal. And when it trines Mars, the planet of gumption and drive, you'll feel a push to push past self-imposed limits and to realize your inner potential. This can be a tremendously creative and ennobling transit. You'll be surprised by how quickly anxieties and insecurities fall away like the Earth when seen from a capsule rocketing into space. But Neptune, planet of vision, can also be delusional. And this is what happens when you live in a bubble, which Neptune obviously rules over. If you surround yourself with people who always agree with you and who encourage you to shut out critics and dissenters, then you're in danger of believing only what you want to believe. This can lead you to circle the wagons, which winds up closing your mind and heart. So be open to those who disagree with you. Visions aren't intransient. If anything, they benefit from having holes poked in them, because questions prevail upon you to broaden your horizons and to take into account things you never considered before. Signs most affected are Aries, Leo, Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Pisces. On April 20th, Venus sextiles Uranus. Sometimes a situation in desperate need of fixing defies our best attempts to remedy it because it wasn't the right time to address it. Maybe circumstances weren't conducive, or your idea was so different from what people expected that it left everyone scratching their heads. Or maybe matters had to get worse before they could get better. In any case, what makes this Venus-Uranus sextile better than the previous two, Venus and Uranus form sextiles on January 26th and April 8th respectively, is that both planets are now out of retrograde. Translation: both planets are now willing to work together, whereas before they each experienced one another as having a backwards approach. The beauty of Venus ruling the sextile and being in Pisces, the zodiac sign of her exaltation, is that you will find ways to make differences dovetail and to present a solution that everyone can smile about. Signs most affected are Taurus, Cancer, Scorpio, Aquarius, and Pisces. The other planetary aspect taking place on April 20th is Mercury, forming a sextile to Pluto. Sometimes when people formulate an approach and it meets with success, they'll repeat it again and again, growing convinced over time that this is the way to solve a problem, manufacture a product, or get things done. It's ironic how continued success actually lowers our sights rather than lifts them. The danger of any conventional approach is that it becomes formulaic and loses that surprise element that made it so groundbreaking in the first place. The beauty of today's Mercury-Pluto sextile is that it combines the innovative genius of Pluto and Aquarius with the self-improvement tendencies of Mercury in Aries to create a desire to make something better. So instead of abandoning something that's always worked for you, you'll see where there's room for improvement. And this will rekindle that spirit of invention and your excitement. Signs most affected are Aries, Gemini, Leo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, and Aquarius. And another planetary aspect taking place on April 20th is the Sun forming a square to Mars. It's going to feel like anger has grabbed control of your psychic console when Mars forms a square to the Sun today. In some ways, you can think of the planets as the emotions bickering over who's in charge of Riley's life in the Pixar film Inside Out, except the person they're fighting over is you. This will make you feel more like a passenger than the driver behind the wheel. Nevertheless, you need to exercise some kind of self-control before you drive away friends and alienate support. People will understand if you're going through a hard time, as long as you say so. They won't if you come across as brusque, dismissive, and mean-spirited. Signs most affected are Aries, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. On April 23rd, the Sun will form a square to Pluto. Today's Sun-Pluto square shows that someone is encroaching on your turf. It will be portrayed as an innocent oversight, but rest assured, it's deliberate. But before you get outraged, you might want to take some time to research what's going on, because what's unfolding may be bigger than you realize. There may be a changing of the higher-ups at work, a reshuffling of the department, or a major merger or acquisition taking place. You won't always be clear as to whether you should fight for what you have or accept a buyout, which is why you'll want to bird dog developments over the next few weeks. Signs most affected are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. On April 24th, Venus will conjoin Saturn in Pisces. Not all obstacles are meant to be surmounted or powered through. Sometimes obstacles are put in our way to get us to ask the hard questions. One's mindset often turns towards the negative whenever Venus conjoins Saturn. Its reputation for freezing affections or burying a relationship beneath a heap of thankless obligations is well known. Yet, this planetary aspect is also famous for getting you to seriously examine your feelings. If you feel like things could succeed, if only the other person would change, then this may not be the partnership for you. If you're dedicated to improving relations, no matter how long it takes, then stay the course, and one day you may see this obstacle turn into a threshold when the time is right. But then again, since this is the last time that Venus will be forming a conjunction to Saturn in the zodiac sign of Pisces for the next 28 years, this might be the time to say, enough is enough. Signs most affected are Taurus, Cancer, Libra, Scorpio, Capricorn, and Pisces. On April 26th, Mars will form an opposition to Pluto. This is an extremely polarizing opposition, and it signals a split, but not a clean break. The reason for this is because Mars and Pluto are both the twin rulers of the zodiac sign of Scorpio. Mars is the traditional ruler of Scorpio, and Pluto is the modern ruler of Scorpio. So in effect, Mars and Pluto co-parent the zodiac sign of Scorpio. So this opposition taking place between the two of them is going to create a very angry and a very retaliatory energy. Both sides of this opposition are going to feel wronged. And both sides of this opposition will appeal to others for their understanding and support. Unfortunately, neither side is interested in settling their differences. It puts me in mind of the It Ends With Us co-stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. The rift is only going to widen. and continue to widen through the early part of the summer. Indeed, I don't think it's going to be until late August until we see some kind of reprieve or relief. Signs most affected are Aries, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. On April 30th, Venus re-enters the zodiac sign of Aries. Venus, planet of love, re-enters Aries today, and as it does, you may experience an extraordinary epiphany. Maybe you can get along without him or her. It's so sudden and out of the blue that even you'll be shocked by the impact of its revelation. Now, this could be the moment when the scales fall from your eyes and you finally decide to part company. Or it could just be a wake-up call that alerts you to the fact that you're a lot more able-bodied than you give yourself credit for. In any case, the balance in your relationship has shifted, and it won't be changing back anytime soon. Signs most affected are Aries, Taurus, Leo, Libra, Scorpio, and Sagittarius. If you enjoyed what you saw, please press the like button. It helps more than you know. If you could subscribe, that would be wonderful. I've had such a wonderful time visiting with you this week, and I can't wait to get together next time on Christopher Renstrom Astrology.